Commander Juan Park stood tall before the Imperial Council, even as laughter echoed through the grand chamber of Nexus Prime. The massive hall, with its towering crystal pillars and floating light orbs, was designed to make visitors feel small. Today, it was working. Supreme Overlord Tavo sat on his elevated throne, his purple skin shimmering under the artificial light. His 4 eyes narrowed as he examined the humans with obvious disgust. "Your ships took 15 years to reach our space," Tahoe said, his translator converting his clicking language into human speech. "By then, your own world has aged and changed. What kind of civilization travels so slowly?" Juwan felt her face grow hot, but she kept her diplomatic smile firmly in place. Behind her, the other 5 members of Earth's first interstellar delegation shifted uncomfortably. They had prepared for many reactions, but not this level of mockery. "The people of Earth seek only peaceful relations," Juwan said. "We bring trade goods, cultural exchanges, and scientific knowledge." This triggered more laughter from the council members. A tall, thin alien with silver skin stood up and pointed at the data tablet in his hand. "Your most advanced computer technology is thousands of years behind our simplest devices," he said. "Your medical science is primitive. Your understanding of physics is incomplete. What could you possibly offer the hegemony?" Juwan opened her briefcase and removed a small wooden box. "We bring unique perspectives, creativity, art, music, things that transcend technology." The council members passed the Earth gifts among themselves. Paintings, music recordings, books, examining them briefly before tossing them aside with bored expressions. "Toys," said Tahoe. "Children's playthings." He stood, his massive frame towering over the human delegation. "The galactic hegemony has ruled 10,000 star systems for over 5,000 years. We have no need for your trinkets or primitive ideas." Juwan tried one last approach. "Then perhaps you could share your knowledge with us. Help humanity advance." Tahoe's laugh boomed across the chamber. "Why would we create a potential rival? No, humans. Return to your backwater world. When you can travel between stars in days instead of decades, perhaps then we'll speak as equals." With a wave of his 6-fingered hand, he signaled the end of the audience. Guards moved forward to escort the humans back to their ship. As they walked through the gleaming corridors of the alien capital, Dr. Minju Kim, the delegation's scientist, whispered to Juwan, "They're making a big mistake." Juwan nodded slightly. The hegemony's arrogance was exactly what Earth's leaders had predicted. It was why they had sent this mission in the first place, not with hope for true diplomacy, but to confirm their intelligence about the Empire's attitude toward lesser species. Back aboard their ship, the Earth delegation gathered in the secure communication room. After scanning for listening devices, Juwan activated the quantum communicator, a device the hegemony believed was impossible to create. Admiral Sunho Lee's face appeared on the screen immediately, despite being 15 light-years away on Earth. "Report," he said simply. "Complete rejection, sir," Juwan replied. "They see us as primitive, backward, and unworthy of respect, just as we expected." The Admiral nodded. "And they detected nothing unusual about your ship?" "No, sir. They believe we traveled here using only the visible fusion drives. The quantum core remained undetected." "Excellent," said the Admiral. "Return home immediately using conventional drives. Maintain the deception until you're well clear of their space." After the call ended, the crew prepared for the long journey home, at least the journey that would appear long to any watching eyes. In reality, once they were out of the hegemony's detection range, they would activate their real propulsion system. For 30 years, humanity had hidden its greatest breakthrough. While publicly developing fusion drives and cryosleep technology, Earth's United Nations had secretly perfected instant teleportation through quantum tunneling. They could jump ships across the galaxy in seconds. But after discovering the hegemony and its treatment of primitive species, Earth's leaders had decided to keep this technology hidden. They would let the Empire believe humans were slow, weak, and technologically inferior. As their ship slowly left Nexus Prime's orbit, Juwan looked back at the glittering capital world. The hegemony thought they had just dismissed an insignificant species. They didn't realize they had just met the force that would soon turn their empire upside down. The real first contact was yet to come, and when it did, the hegemony would no longer be laughing. Dr. Hyunwoo Kim's fingers moved quickly over the control panel as he watched the final moments of the diplomatic meeting unfold. The underground facility beneath Olympus Mons on Mars was buzzing with activity. Hundreds of scientists and military personnel worked at their stations, all focused on the massive holographic display showing Commander Juwan Park facing the hegemony's mockery. When the feed finally cut off, the room fell silent. Dr. Kim looked up at Admiral Sun-Ho Lee, whose face remained expressionless. "They've rejected us completely," Dr. Kim said, breaking the silence, "just as our intelligence suggested they would." Admiral Lee nodded slowly, his arms crossed tightly across his chest. "The hegemony believes itself untouchable. Their arrogance will be their undoing." He turned to face the room of waiting personnel. "Prepare Operation Quantum Leap. Full deployment." A wave of activity swept through the command center. Technicians began powering up systems that had been in standby for years. On screens around the room, status indicators for 12 sleek black ships changed from yellow to green. Dr. Kim walked with Admiral Lee toward the central planning table. A three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared, with the hegemony's territory highlighted in red. It covered nearly a third of the known galaxy. 30 years of work, Dr. Kim said softly, looking at the map, all for this moment. After first learning about the hegemony from captured transmissions, humanity had realized they faced a major threat. The hegemony conquered any civilization they encountered, either absorbing them or destroying them completely. The only races they left alone were those they considered too primitive to bother with. "Show me the fleet status," Admiral Lee ordered. Dr. Kim tapped his control pad, and 12 ship profiles appeared on screen. Each was named after an ancient Earth god or goddess: Apollo, Artemis, Athena, Zeus, Poseidon, Hera, Hermes, Demeter, Ares, Hades, Persephone, and Dionysus. Their sleek black hulls contained the most advanced technology humanity had ever created. "The Artemis had some calibration issues yesterday," Dr. Kim reported, "but they've been resolved. All ships are at 100% readiness." Admiral Lee nodded. "And the crews?" "Trained and ready. They've been running simulations for 5 years. They know what to do." Dr. Kim remembered when the project had first begun. Most scientists had believed instantaneous transportation was impossible, but desperation had driven innovation. When conventional physics failed, they had turned to quantum mechanics, specifically quantum entanglement. By creating paired quantum systems and separating them, they discovered a way to transfer information instantly across any distance. Then came the breakthrough, transferring not just information, but matter. The first tests had been small, moving a single atom across a room, then a molecule, then a small object. Each success led to the next challenge. Each failure taught them something new. Outside the window of the command center, Dr. Kim could see the massive manufacturing facilities that had been built under the surface of Mars. Here, away from Earth's prying eyes, they had constructed the teleport fleet. 12 warships with the power to appear anywhere in the galaxy without warning. "We should contact the other bases," Dr. Kim suggested. "Make sure everyone is coordinated." Admiral Lee nodded, and Dr. Kim opened communication channels to the hidden facilities on Europa, Titan, and Callisto. On each screen, determined faces appeared, waiting for orders. "The hegemony has rejected diplomatic contact," Admiral Lee told them. "We are proceeding with Operation Quantum Leap. All bases prepare for full deployment. The teleport fleet launches in 72 hours. As confirmations came in from each base, Dr. Kim activated the facility-wide communication system. His voice echoed through every corridor and room of the massive underground complex. All personnel to battle stations. The teleport fleet launches in 72 hours. Immediately, the pace of activity doubled. Crew members headed for their ships. Engineers ran final checks on the quantum entanglement cores. Tactical officers reviewed the planned appearance points above each major hegemony world. Dr. Kim looked at a small photo on his desk, his family back on Earth. They didn't know what he really did. Nobody outside the program did. For 30 years, humanity had kept this secret, even from its own people. Will it work? Dr. Kim asked quietly. Admiral Lee placed a hand on his shoulder. It has to. We get one chance to show the hegemony that humanity isn't what they think we are. Together, they watched as the 12 ships began powering up their quantum cores, creating a soft blue glow that illuminated the massive underground hangar. Soon, those ships would vanish from this solar system and appear simultaneously at 12 critical hegemony worlds. The empire that had laughed at humanity was about to learn a shocking lesson about underestimating others. The morning sky above Nexus Prime was clear and beautiful. 3 suns shone down on the capital city of the hegemony, where millions of aliens from different worlds lived and worked under the Empire's rule. It was a normal day. Citizens moved through the streets. Ships came and went from the spaceport. Then it happened. Without any warning, the air itself seemed to tear open. 12 black ships appeared in the sky, coming from nowhere. There was no flash of light, no sound, no disturbance. They simply weren't there one moment and were there the next. In perfect formation, they hovered above the tallest buildings of the capital. Each ship was smooth and black, with no visible engines or weapons. They looked like shadows given form, impossible objects that shouldn't exist. Inside the hegemony's military command center, alarms screamed. Screens flashed red warnings. Officers ran between stations, shouting orders that nobody knew how to follow. Fleet Commander Minho stared at the main display, his 4 eyes blinking rapidly in confusion. His scales changed color from calm blue to alarmed orange as the reports came in. Impossible, he gasped, checking the sensor readings again. Our sensors detected no approach vectors, no warp signatures, nothing. They just appeared. The command center doors slid open. Supreme Overlord Tejo stormed in, his massive form causing junior officers to scramble out of his way. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of extreme agitation among his species. What trickery is this? Tahoe demanded, his deep voice booming across the room. Identify those vessels immediately. We're trying. Supreme One. An officer replied, frantically working at his console. But they match nothing in our database. Their hull material absorbs our scanning beams. We can't even determine their power source. Are they preparing to attack? Tahoe asked, moving to the center of the command platform. No weapons signatures detected, another officer reported. They're just sitting there. A third officer suddenly grabbed at her communication device. Supreme One, we're receiving a transmission. It's being broadcast on all frequencies, not just here. Reports are coming in from every major world in the hegemony. The same message, at the exact same time. Put it through, Tahoe ordered. The main screen flickered, and a human face appeared. The room fell silent. It was a male human with stern features and a military uniform. This is Admiral Sunho Lee of the United Earth Defense Fleet, the human said calmly. 3 days ago, you mocked our technological capabilities and dismissed our peaceful overtures. Today, we demonstrate what humanity is truly capable of. Our teleportation technology has rendered your defensive systems obsolete. We now control the space above every major hegemony world. We offer you one chance to reconsider our original proposal for peaceful coexistence. The message ended as abruptly as it began. The screen went dark. For several long moments, no one spoke. The only sounds were the continuing alarms and the click-click-click of Tahoe's mandibles. Teleportation, Minho finally said, breaking the silence. That's That's not possible. The energy requirements alone would be. Clearly it is possible. Tahoe roared, slamming his fist down on a nearby console, cracking its surface. The primitives have deceived us. Outside, citizens of the capital gathered in streets and plazas, pointing up at the black ships. Some ran in panic. Others stood frozen in shock. The news spread quickly. Similar ships had appeared above 87 hegemony worlds simultaneously. It was unprecedented. In orbit around Nexus Prime, the hegemony's defense fleet scrambled to respond. Hundreds of warships moved to surround the 12 human vessels. They have us outgunned 100 to 1, Captain Jayan said on the bridge of the UES Apollo, one of the 12 teleport ships. Just as we expected. It doesn't matter, her tactical officer replied. They can't hit what they can't catch. On the command ship UES Zeus, Admiral Lee watched the hegemony's response with calm interest. He had spent 20 years planning this moment. Send the secondary message to our other vessels, he ordered. Execute Phase 2 demonstration in exactly 1 hour. Meanwhile, in the Hegemony Command Center, Tahoe was giving orders of his own. Launch everything we have. I want those ships destroyed or captured immediately, he shouted. How dare these humans? How dare they? Minho approached cautiously. Supreme One, we should consider their offer. If they truly have mastered teleportation technology. Navier, Tahoe roared. The hegemony does not negotiate with lesser species. We will teach these humans the price of such arrogance. As hegemony warships moved into attack position, the human vessels remained motionless. They made no attempt to defend themselves or return fire. They didn't need to. The Empire was about to learn that their weapons, their ships, their entire concept of warfare had just become obsolete. The real demonstration was only beginning. The Emergency Council chamber of the hegemony was in chaos. Representatives from 100 worlds shouted over each other as new reports came in every minute. Each report was worse than the last. Human ships above Craxus Prime. The mining colony on Zebulon is surrounded. Our defense grid on Terra 7 has been completely bypassed. Supreme Overlord Tahoe sat at the head of the massive table, his purple skin now pale with rage. His fist repeatedly struck the table as he tried to bring order to the meeting. Silence. He finally roared, and the room quieted. This cannot stand. We are the hegemony. We have ruled this galaxy for 5,000 years. We will not be threatened by primitives who only left their homeworld a few decades ago. An older council member named Jinwo raised his hand. Supreme One, perhaps we should consider their offer. If they truly possess teleportation technology. It is a trick. Tahoe shouted. It must be. No species could develop such technology without us knowing about it. Fleet Commander Minho stood up, data tablet in hand. Supreme One, our scientists have analyzed the sensor readings. The human ships truly appear to be teleporting. They'd vanish from one location and instantly appear at another. There is no travel time between points. Murmurs spread through the council. Such technology would change everything. Wars, trade, exploration, control. Launch the Grand Fleet. Tahoe ordered, slamming his fist down again. All ships, every vessel we have. Destroy these human interlopers. Within hours, the hegemony's enormous fleet mobilized. Thousands of warships moved to engage the human vessels above key worlds. The hegemony had always won through overwhelming force. Their ships outnumbered the humans by hundreds to 1. But it made no difference. When the hegemony ships fired, the human vessels simply vanished, only to reappear elsewhere moments later. Targeting computers couldn't lock on to ships that never stayed in one place. Weapons designed to hit vessels traveling at predictable speeds were useless against an enemy that didn't travel at all. They just disappeared and reappeared. On a viewing platform in the capital city, civilians watched the battle in the skies above with growing fear. The hegemony fleet, pride of the Empire, was firing at empty space, while the black human ships blinked in and out of existence. always one step ahead. The gods have abandoned us, one citizen whispered. Not gods, another replied. Humans. Aboard the UES Quantum Dawn, Admiral Sunho Lee stood on the bridge, watching tactical displays of all 87 battles happening simultaneously across hegemony space. Each display showed the same thing: hegemony ships firing uselessly while human vessels teleported around them. They still don't understand, he said to Lieutenant Commander Ji-yun, who stood beside him. They think this is some advanced propulsion system they can counter with enough firepower. Ji-yun nodded, her eyes on the displays. It's like watching children try to catch shadows. Has there been any response to our peace offer? Lee asked. Nothing official, Ji-yun replied. But we're intercepting lots of communication between hegemony worlds. Many of the outer colonies are panicking. Some are talking about surrender or independence. Lee nodded. The plan was working perfectly. For years, human intelligence had studied the hegemony, learning that the empire was held together by fear and a belief in technological superiority. Take away that superiority, introduce fear among the rulers instead of the ruled, and the empire would begin to crack. When do we demonstrate Phase 2? Ji-yun asked. When they reject our second offer of peace, Lee replied, which, given their pride, should be any moment now. As if on cue, a communication officer turned from her station. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Nexus Prime. It's Supreme Overlord Tahoe himself. On screen, Lee ordered. Tahoe's face appeared, his mandibles clicking furiously. This is Supreme Overlord Tahoe of the Galactic Hegemony. Your actions are a declaration of war. Withdraw your vessels immediately or face total destruction. Lee smiled slightly. Supreme Overlord, we have already demonstrated that your weapons cannot touch our ships. We ask again for peaceful recognition and equal status in the galactic community. Never. Tahoe spat. The hegemony does not negotiate with inferiors. Very well, Lee said calmly. Then we will proceed with our next demonstration. He cut the transmission and turned to Ji-yun. Begin Phase 2. Throughout hegemony space, the human ships suddenly vanished again. But this time, they didn't reappear in the sky. They reappeared inside the hegemony's most secure facilities. A ship materialized in the main hangar of the military headquarters on Nexus Prime. Another appeared inside the throne room of the Imperial Palace. A third blinked into existence in the middle of the emergency council chamber where Tahoe had just finished his transmission. The message was clear. Nowhere was safe. The empire that had never known fear was learning what it felt like to be afraid. Admiral Lee stood on the bridge of the UES Quantum Dawn, watching the final message from Supreme Overlord Tahoe fade from the screen. The hegemony leader had rejected their peace offer and demanded human surrender. They never learn, Admiral Lee said quietly. He turned to Lieutenant Commander Ji-yun. Begin Phase 2, all ships. Throughout human fleet, captains received the order. The black ships vanished from the skies above hegemony worlds. For a brief moment, the Empire's leaders thought they had won, that the humans had retreated. They were wrong. On the heavily guarded moon of Nexus Prime, inside the hegemony's most secure military base, alarms suddenly blared. In the middle of the command center, the UES Apollo appeared out of nowhere. The ship, nearly 100 meters long, simply materialized inside the building, crushing equipment, but carefully avoiding harming any living beings. Across hegemony space, the same scene repeated. Human ships appeared inside weapons factories, royal palaces, and military academies. One materialized in the Great Hall of the Hegemony Council during a meeting, hovering silently above the stunned representatives. On Nexus Prime, Supreme Overlord Tahoe was in his private chambers when the wall display activated without command. Admiral Lee's face appeared. "This is our final demonstration," Lee said calmly. "We can appear anywhere. No walls can keep us out. No shields can stop us. We could have placed our ships inside your bedroom while you slept, had we wished to." Tahoe stared at the screen, his mandibles still for the first time in days. "We don't want war," Lee continued. "We never did, but we will not be treated as inferiors. You have 24 hours to reconsider our offer of peaceful relations, equal relations." The display went dark. For 3 days, silence fell across the hegemony. No further human ships appeared. No attacks came. But the damage was done. Citizens who had always believed in the Empire's power now questioned everything. Military officers who had sworn to protect the Empire realized they couldn't protect themselves. On the morning of the 4th day, Supreme Overlord Teo requested direct communication with Earth's leadership. When his face appeared on screens across human territory, many were shocked by the change. His once proud posture was now slightly stooped. His bright purple skin had dulled. "Perhaps," he began hesitantly, "we have misjudged humanity's place in the galactic order. We would be amenable to revisiting your original proposals for diplomatic relations." 1 month later, in a ceremony broadcast to every human and hegemony world, the Treaty of New Terra was signed. Under its terms, humanity would be recognized as equals within the galactic community. The hegemony would no longer be an empire but a confederation of worlds where all species had equal voice. In the grand ceremonial hall on Nexus Prime, Commander Juan Park walked the signing table. The same hall where she had once been mocked and dismissed now fell silent in respect as she approached. Her simple human uniform stood out among the elaborate dress of the alien representatives. As she signed her name to the historic document, she looked up at Supreme Overlord Tahoe, now simply Representative Tahoe, seated across from her. "You once asked how we managed to leave our solar system without destroying ourselves," she said, her voice carrying through the silent hall. "The answer is simple. We learned to work together, to overcome limitations, to find new paths when old ones failed." She handed the pen to Tahoe, who accepted it with a small bow of his head. "They mocked us for our apparent limitations," she continued, addressing the assembled representatives and the billions watching the broadcast, never considering that true innovation often thrives best in the face of constraints. Humanity didn't develop teleportation technology because we were superior. We developed it because we had to find another way forward. As Tahoe signed the treaty, applause broke out across the hall, not just from the human delegation, but from many of the former hegemony species as well. Many had lived under the Empire's rule for centuries, never daring to challenge its authority. Later that evening, at the celebration that followed, Admiral Lee approached Commander Park with a glass of Earth wine. "To peace," he said, raising his glass. "To understanding," she replied, touching her glass to his. "Do you think they've truly accepted us as equals?" Lee asked quietly. Park looked across the room, where Tahoe was deep in conversation with Dr. Hyunwoo Kim, discussing the principles of quantum teleportation technology. "I think they've learned what humans have always known," she said, "that the universe is full of surprises, and that assuming you know everything is the quickest path to discovering how little you really know." Across the galaxy, a new age was beginning. The ships of the human teleport fleet remained ready, but their purpose had changed. Once built for potential war, they now carried diplomats, scientists, and explorers to worlds that had never known equality. The empire that had mocked humanity had been transformed not by force, but by the simple demonstration that no power is absolute and no technology is beyond reach for those determined enough to find it.